yes, welcome here. Thank you. Hello, everyone, for watching. Irma, it's so nice to have you here. Like, we've been working, I was looking back actually. I think we've been working, we met each other, I think in June, July last year.
Definitely June. Definitely June.
I know. So Irma, it's so fun to have you here and to be able to talk through like everything that we've gone through together, like the whole journey, and just to take back where we started, because we started in a bit of a different way than how I normally start with the women I work with. But I remember that when we started, I was in a bit of a low point and more, and we've gone through this, of course, like motivationally, like I've been setting up my coaching business, my program. And at that point, I just finished working with a couple of the women, actually my first couple of women, and I didn't have any. And that's sort of from someone who's a newbie in entrepreneurship, trying to build a business. That was a bit of a smack in my face. And in order, because it's all about energy, I thought, okay, you know what? I'm just going to invite a couple of people, if they can, like as a market research, can do a bit of a questionnaire. And I'm going to hand out free coaching sessions, because I was thinking, well, then at least I'm going to do what I love. And that's when you came into, well, my my world. And I remember, because we did initially 2 coaching sessions, that you were going through anxiety. And I want you to explain for yourself what you was going through. But from that point, because especially as I hadn't worked with anyone with that severe anxiety, that I couldn't, well, not necessarily push, but also not sell you, because I couldn't confidently say like, okay, I got you. I know I can help you. Trust me, because I had a gut feeling, but like an inner knowing, but I couldn't prove it at that point. And I was like, okay, Irma, can you please trust me? Can we go on this adventure together? It will be my investment as well, because I want to build a case, and it sounds so formal, but I wanted to sort of prove to myself that, you know, that I could. So how was that for you? And can you then also explain, like, because I remember you were like, well, you know, I don't think there is a cure for me. Like, I don't think there's something that can help me at this point. So can you talk me a bit through that?
Sure. I remember that moment very well. It was, I think it was in early June, maybe the end of May. If you were in a low point, I was in a really low point. Because I've been dealing with anxiety for as long as I can remember, which means it has been with me since my very early childhood, since I have memory. So I'm 38 years now. And it's been, when we met, in the last 3 years, I've been through this very strong anxiety, and I've been trying things, courses, therapies. I've been trying things all my life, but in the last 3 years, it's been more intense. And when we got in touch, I thought, well, you know, what is there to lose, since I'm already doing, you know, all those different things, books, therapies, medicine, whatever. And there were absolutely no expectations. We just had those trial, right, conversations. We immediately got connected, and this was the difference, right? That we immediately felt that there's this connection. So we didn't know how it's going to go and how it's going to end, but we knew that definitely we can kind of have a very good collaboration, in the sense that we have very good connection. It's easy for us, and at least it felt natural, and you know, obviously I thought it can't go worse. So let's see what we can bring out of this, because definitely it can't go any worse at that point.
Yeah, I remember that. And you know, that's also throughout our whole working together. I think we spent, well, 4 months really intensive going through the program, going through the, you know, the program that I created, is that, you know, at least start to doubt. That's already a win, like, you know, without having that door shut. But can you please tell me, because there's different grades, and explain like different grades of anxiety, like what were you, how was life like for you before we started working together? Because you say, you know, I tried it all, been to therapy, courses, like I really was trying everything to get me, you know, out of this, what I'm feeling. And you said the last 3 years were the most severe. So how did that look like for you?
Oh, that is very easy to explain, because it's been such a crystallized experience. In the last 3 years, I have imprisoned myself in a very, very little life so that I would get as little anxiety as possible. People who have anxiety, people have little anxiety might think that, you know, it's just, oh, in the morning I'm feeling a bit anxious about going to work. Oh, I'm feeling a bit anxious about meeting that person. No, when we talk about severe anxiety, people who have been suffering from severe anxiety, from this inborn severe anxiety, they know that it's physically for you and mentally, it's getting up and going to work or doing any other thing during the day is a massive, massive fight. You are fighting to survive every single day. I've never missed a single day at work or a single commitment, but because I didn't let myself. But the amount of fight I had to put to just get up, to put on my makeup and to step out. Sometimes I'd be like crying before going out, hysterically, thinking that there's no way I can go out. But obviously at the end, I always did it. So my life turned into this constant fight. I've imprisoned myself, so I worked in the same job for many years. I had changed job, I traveled countries, then I came back because it didn't work out as maybe as well as I thought. So when I came back and anxiety hit very, very hard, I built myself this very cozy, comfortable life, which means that everything I did in my life had one purpose: to cause me as little anxiety as possible. That was the only thing that mattered, and that was the only way of life I did. Talking about job, relationships, friends, anything. Everything I did had to cause me as little anxiety as possible. My life was built around anxiety. I was dancing around anxiety. And when you contacted me, what I liked is that you didn't specialize in anxiety. I did all those courses about anxiety, panic attacks, and then there's this person who says, well, actually, I mean, I'm not an expert in anxiety, you know, like, we can talk about other things. And I thought, well, you know, we can try that. Let's try, since my life is all about anxiety, why didn't we try to talk about things out of the anxiety that actually I don't even remember or I have no idea about, because it's been so many years.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that conversation. And that's when we also tried, because I said, like, look, by all means, I'm no doctor. I don't have any experience in anxiety. I remember that conversation. But what I explained to you, you know, and I'd like you to go into what was the difference, because I have a lot of women as well ask me, so what's the difference between therapy and coaching, and or want to seek out a therapy journey or you know, road first. But I remember that I said to you, like, look, you know, this is just my personal opinion, that we can spend all the time looking at what's going wrong. We can spend all the time looking at the past. But let's, like, what I can help you with is looking at the future. Let me guide you to where you actually desire to go. So, you know, let's scratch. And I remember a couple of weeks in where you were like, oh, like, whoa, we haven't even had, there wasn't even a point of conversation, that there was no talk around anxiety, because we were talking about, you know, energy and well, let's get into that in a bit, but so many other layers came up that it wasn't about anxiety anymore, but the layers below, which you at that point wasn't even conscious about, because like you said, your whole life, you know, where you said, I imprisoned myself, like everything was built, it was heavy, trying not to have anxiety. How can I not have anxiety? I remember, you know, when I wrote it down for myself, you would pray like, oh, can tomorrow please be not as bad as today? So that was, yeah, like your whole life geared. And I also remember the conversation that we had when I did an in-between sort of a evaluation when we did together. You told me, like, you know, that your biggest fears that you felt, like you were in the backstage of a theater. You were still, and you probably remember this. You're like, and this is my biggest fear, that here I'm here and I'm seeing, witnessing everyone on stage living their life, and I'm just watching backstage, not being able to live, being stuck here in this place. And that just, yeah, that just touched me. So how do you, you know, before we go into the whole story, how do you look back on that, and how does that feel now for you?
It's still very, very recent, and I can't say I completely disconnected from that girl and from that person and from that point, because we're literally talking. It might be like, this is a success story and it's happened 10 years ago and I'm a successful businesswoman now. It's actually, we are talking about 4 or 5 months ago. I mean, we're talking half a year ago here, and it hasn't been a moment in my life. I've been living there for very many years. Of course, there've been very good years and very bad years, but we're talking in the moment where it's been bad years. And it's been so many therapies about exactly like all we talked about in therapies was anxiety, panic attacks, anxiety. Where are they coming from? How to treat them, these exercises. And, if they help, obviously, I'm not saying that, oh, just quit all the therapies because, it's useless. Obviously, you have to learn how to deal with it, how to go through with it. If you need some medicine, if you don't, whatever. But I've been so tired of, because it's been so many years of talking about the same, and kind of I felt I knew all the theory already. Yeah, because people who go lots to psychologists, therapists, psychiatrists, the theory is there, and kind of, it starts, you hear the repeating patterns, and you kind of know the theory, and you do the exercises, and it seems like, and of course, it did make me feel better. Obviously, they work and they do help you. But what wasn't right for me is exactly the feeling that life was happening on stage. And I was observing people going, laughing, doing, and I was on the backstage, always in the backstage, and kind of I would slip a little bit on the stage, and that would be so scary, or I would kind of fail, and I would immediately go back, because this was the safe place, what we call the comfort zone, although actually it's self-imprisonment. This is exactly what it is. When you just self-imprison and you think that kind of you should go out there, but anxiety gives you kind of such a perfect excuse not to. Because it's literally mentally and physically so hard, and kind of you feel that, well, maybe you should change your life, but oh, you can't because you are ill. You have anxiety, you are ill. So it's actually a very, very comfortable position to fall into, and to victimize yourself and to say, oh, I have anxiety, I'm ill, so I can't actually do all those things that other people do on stage. So I'll just sit in the backstage and just see the life pass by. And once when all the therapists start functioning, all the medicine, whatever miracle starts working, then I'll start making changes to my life, and then I'll go on stage. But meanwhile, I'm ill, so I won't do anything. This was the position when we started.
Yeah, and I remember as well, like what you said is the conversation we had around labels, because that's it. It's the label of, I'm suffering anxiety, there's something wrong with me, I'm sick, I'm ill. Like, there's a lot of literally heavy weight. And that's how you explained it before just now also, is that everything was geared towards how can I not have anxiety? So, like you said, obviously you're 6 months in, so it isn't 10 years ahead. But what has been your biggest shifts, and where do you see your biggest growth? Like, how do you feel now compared where you were 4 months ago, 5 months ago?
Yeah. The biggest shift is when we started working and when we started focusing on everything else except anxiety. The shift was when I decided to continue my life as if I didn't have anxiety. I thought, okay, it's there, so whether I do things or not, it'll be there. Why don't we try something new? Why don't we try making those big life changes, having anxiety, and just ignoring it, just like it didn't exist? I'll do all the things, the necessary things I imagine a healthy person would do. And then, I'll see what happens. I mean, I'm suffering anyway. So, if I'm suffering silently at home, watching telly, or if I'm suffering moving countries or changing places, well, I mean, it's the same suffering at the end of the day. So because I remember very well when in our first sessions, you asked me, like, do you know exactly what you want? For example, you said, what do you want to eat tomorrow for breakfast? And for me, this question was the life-changing, because I remember when you asked me this, what I realized is that I don't know what I want tomorrow for breakfast, because all my life I've been thinking, what is good to have for breakfast, not to have anxiety.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my, if I don't know what I want for breakfast tomorrow morning, how can I possibly know what I want professionally or personally in my life? So this was this changing point, when kind of turning point, when things shifted, when I said, if I can't answer the question what I really want tomorrow for breakfast, I mean, maybe we should start from here. Instead of, manifesting big dreams and, like I did in the previous courses, like, just manifesting, imagining myself, like, having a great business and great cars. Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted for breakfast. I knew what breakfast caused me as little anxiety as possible.
Yeah.
This is what we are talking about.
Yeah, this was like what you were for. I remember that very well as well, is that we were going, like, the program is geared all around, our energy, level of energy, like, the words we use, the thoughts we think, and just being observant of that. And I remember this conversation with around what brings you joy? Like, what type of breakfast would bring you, like, what could you eat that brings you joy? Yeah. And it
no
was
idea.
Yeah, something so simple, I don't know actually. And that was I remember for you as well, such a pivotal moment, because that's hard to realize, of course, the moment where you realize, like, fuck, I don't know myself that well. I don't know myself at all, actually, because everything I've been giving away my power actually towards my anxiety. So everything I was and that's again the energy, like, being, instead of like focusing on what you want, focusing on what you don't want, was like, okay, and that conversation as well, where I said, pray it wouldn't be as bad, where we had the conversation, okay, what if you would pray for it to be good and not as bad, because you're actually subconsciously reaffirming more of the same. So it was that shifts towards, like, okay, what actually me, Irma, would bring me joy? What actually can I do? And I remember the conversation around diet as well, because it was all, like you said, so one, very controlling, but also very forced towards not allowing myself to enjoy, like, okay, but I'll have pizza and I'm gluten-free, and it's all becoming very, how is your diet now? Like, we haven't had this conversation actually. Like, how do you do that? I remember going through, your mom's like, oh, no, I can't have her food for 3 weeks. Like, no, it was such a huge fight.
It was an obsession. Everything has turned into an obsession. Eating, anxiety, non-triggering foods, doing anxiety, non-triggering activities, doing exercise because it's good to reduce anxiety levels, intermittent fasting because it's good, whatever. So I was very conscious. I mean, if I ate something out of my foods I should eat, the next day I would feel much worse, obviously, because I knew I would. And exactly. And now I'm trying. I mean, I've always tried to be a healthy person, but it's very different to have a healthy diet and a fitness lifestyle than to have anxiety-free diet, anxiety-reducing lifestyle. Yeah. So I had pizza on Thursday. Yesterday at night, late at night, I had a seafood party. I ate a bit too much. Hadn't had very good stomach at night, but it's a very different energy I'm carrying.
Yeah, oh, I love that, Irma. And I remember, this was also very, like, a profound conversation we had, like, okay, Irma, but how can you make it light? And I remember that really was a shifting point for you too, like, okay, because what you said just there, and that is so profound and just so important, because I remember this used to be me as well, where, you have all these rules set in place, of how you should be. And like you said, quote unquote, that fit girl or healthy lifestyle. But if it's based on rules because you think you should, and then either you do it and you feel shame or guilt, like, it's all heavy, because, like, you want it, but you can't, because it's quote unquote bad from what you perceive, and then you do it and you have that shame and that guilt. So it is like a very vicious downward cycle, where now you're actually, like you said, you are way much more intuitively eating, way more flowing, way more like, okay, do I want that? Okay, maybe then, it will be a bit of gluten, like maybe tomorrow I have a little, but it's then that balance, like, is it worth it? And can I really savor that one bite or pizza? Can I sometimes? But I love what you said, like, okay, I've always been super healthy, yeah, but that is what's the word? Instinctively, instinct, well, comes from the inside. it comes from the inside that you want to like, okay, you know, I want to feel healthy. Yeah, of course. But that's all, like you said, such a different motivation towards, I don't want anxiety or I want health, you know, and that's the whole energy towards words, towards our thoughts, and that's a game changer. Like that's, like you said, that eliminates that you feel light and you just feel more vibrant and energetic throughout the day and life.
Yeah, exactly. It's what you said before, right? It's, do I eat not to have anxiety,
Yeah.
or do I eat to feel healthy, strong, fit? Right? And it's this question not only about food, it's every single thing. Do I look for a job that doesn't cause me anxiety, or do I look for a job that makes me gets me excited, that makes me burn?
Yeah.
Do I look for a place to stay that is close to my job so I don't have anxiety on my way to work, or do I look for a place that is next to the sea that has been the dream of my life?
Yeah.
So this is what we've been working on, and this has been the shift, like starting from the breakfast and ending with a profession and lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think the shift as well to realize like, okay, I am the creator. And we've been, one of the modules in the program is working with the divine feminine archetypes, where like, okay, can I be the queen? Like, how do I activate that queen energy within me? Tell me more. What's coming up for you?
Oh, the archetypes. Oh my God. It's been in that process, I have, you know, when you asked to write the strengths and the wounds of each archetype, so I could clearly write the wounds of each. It was wounded mother, wounded lover, wounded wise woman, wounded. Wounds would come up just naturally because it's been so much negative thinking lately. So it's wounds. And then the strengths, you know, I would kind of say, okay, I have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then when the queen archetype came in, and then kind of this was like, this is everything I want to be and nothing I am. What can we do about it?
Yeah.
I'm still in the process. I wouldn't say like I'm, you know, Beyonce, the queen of the world. I'm going there, but definitely not in the position when we started. Like she's everything I want to be, and she's absolutely nothing I am.
Yeah, and Irma, we've been having this conversation over the last couple of weeks, and I said, Irma, who is this woman? Like, it's a totally different energy, because I remember, like you said, it's that focus from being negative, focusing on everything that was going wrong. Like, I remember it was so hard for you, like, okay, what's working? Well, one word, and then all the things that were going bad. Like, everything was bad, and now there's so much life, so much positivity, like, and that's a whole different energy. Like, are you sure, like, you know, you're not 100% there, but you know, we never will be, like, none of us. That's like, but it is for you, like, and especially I know you're going through a lot also from, you know, your work and looking for, like, manifesting really your dream job. So from the place where I am sitting is, instead of like you being here and you settling for here, like, you know, like you said, a comfortable job, looking for outside validation because you were a rock star anyway, because you were way over, you know, the expertise, you were way better than that job. And now you're reaching towards, okay, you know, I can go higher and go bigger and go bolder. And that's already like, that's an epic shift in 4 months, right?
Exactly, just having the strength, the willingness, and the excitement to quit something I didn't like, but eventually caused me very little anxiety because, you know, I got used to it. We're talking about this new job 3 months ago. Quitting it because it wasn't good enough for me. Not for my lifestyle, not for my life, not economically, no. It wasn't good enough for me. I can do much more, and I'm done with hiding behind my anxiety in this victim position. You know, but the job is 2 minutes from home. Oh, but now, you know, the classes, and they are easy to I'm an English teacher, so it's, you know, it's now, you know, all the people, and, you know, now it's kind of it's all relaxing, and now it's all going smooth. But that doesn't bring you joy. End of story. This is what we're talking about, the power. If it doesn't bring you joy, you quit it. And you're not like quitting it, oh, but, you know, I'll wait for something much better to come up, because this was the story of my life. Always. I'll move when a wonderful offer will come up. When I feel better with my anxiety, I'll start making changes. When somebody throws a miracle at me, then I will take it. And then working with you, this is where we kind of shifted, where no one is going to throw a miracle. Manifesting doesn't mean saying, oh, I want that job, I want, oh, it's happening, it's happening. No, you will have to step out. You will have to go through very, very uncomfortable things, because this is what stepping out means. You will have to do a lot of things you don't like, a lot of things you hate, a lot of things that will cause you anxiety, even though maybe you don't have this syndrome or whatever of anxiety. It'll still cause you anxiety, nervousness. It'll be uncomfortable, and you'll have to do things you hate, but this will be your only way out. Otherwise, you're stuck.
Yeah, sorry, it's my partner. But sorry, you threw me off a bit. But yeah, no, like, look, I would never say to you to do things you hate, but it is more the process of stepping out of your comfort zone, definitely. Like, and I like what you say there, you know, where we postpone the one day, like, you know, where you said, and this was very strong for you, waiting on that miracle, like, okay, you know, miraculous, I'll be healthy one day, like miraculous, I'll have strength, and I'll just push through, and I'll persevere, and I'm creating that dream life for me. Like, in the meantime, you move countries, you now live in Gran Canaria. So I think, you know, like we said, the biggest shift is to step for you yourself, to step in that creator seat. Like, hold on, no one is coming to save me. Like, no one is gonna do it for me, like me, myself. And I remember, you know, because talking through the process, like, my program is basically one-on-one coaching where you know, I'll have you explain what coaching is and how you perceive that, but it is modules. So I teach, and then it's the integration of those teachings, you know, so you can have the tools and implement to shift your own energy and to feel empowered, you know, feel your own strength and feel just limitless, like you can take on the world. But then that stepping in that creator seat where, like, okay, you know, what do I want from my life? What brings me joy? And to make choices accordingly towards what you want, because otherwise you keep on stuck, keep on waiting, but nothing is happening all on its own.
Yes, this is the massive difference, that this fake perception that, you know, but if you really want it and you just wait for it, it'll happen. Yeah, when you really want something and you do nothing about it. Yes, remember always you told me that story, right, about God sent me a sign, or God sent me help, and then all the help passing by, and you just, no, that not this, not that, I'm waiting for God to help me. So yeah, this is very much it. This is the key, where actually you just sitting, and I was hiding behind my anxiety, but I imagine people are always hiding behind something.
Exactly. This is a story for, like, you know, a lot of people can resonate, and then not maybe anxiety, but it's behind a bad relationship or a bad job. Like, we all have the seasons in our life that we, you know, we're just not there yet. And, you know, there's time for everything. Like, we can't push ourselves, but the whole thing is, you know, the shifts that you've been making is moving out of that, being hard on yourself and judging yourself and shaming and all the things, and now where you feel coming from a place of power and trust. And I remember as well, like, you know, we're going through the program, so that was how I actually wanted to say that. And I had a conversation with Jessie as well, where and that is most of the women where they have, like, I always say, like, it's darkest before the dawn. I remember you as well, like, you had a moment of breakdown, and you're like, oh, you see, it's not working for me, and it's so hard, and it's difficult. And I always say, like, it takes effort, you know, to become effortless, because yes, it is, you yourself need to put in the work to observe yourself, your own thoughts, and to choose new thoughts, like, you know, reprogram yourself, do the subconscious work, because up until now, you know, we all been programmed, you've been programmed to gear yourself towards the negative, to see what's not working. And we've been like, okay, how can we get you to start focusing on a positive, like to have gratitude, to be, you know, to be kind to yourself. Like, that's been a big theme as well, like, no, like Irma, can you be kind? Can you have compassion for yourself? Like, you know, be proud for everything that you're doing. And yeah, do you remember the biggest shift, or the shift that suddenly, because there has been a moment where it shifted and it started to fall into place for you?
Yes, because there were lots of ups and downs in the sense that I was always very judgmental with myself. I have always been putting a lot of pressure on myself. I've always been perfectionist. So when in the past, when I started a new therapy, another new therapy, I would put my belief in it, and I would put like all my willingness. And when towards the end, or at the end, I would have a breakdown, I would immediately eliminate all the progress and saying that actually it hasn't worked out. It's been another failure. So it's been another course, another therapy, another book, another something. But if I went to, again, a low point, none of it counted. However, of course, when we started working, this was one of the issues. Like, when you have a breakdown, what are you saying to yourself? How do you see that? Is that really a failure? Have you failed? Have you not progressed at all because of this breakdown? Are we eliminating everything we've done? And of course, I started observing what I say to myself and how I treat myself. And I would treat everybody around me always with lots of kindness and compassion, because since I've been through hard times, I kind of immediately connect with people, and I see when they're going through a rough patch, and I immediately kind of empathize. But when it came to me, I was like, oh, you failed again. Of course. Probably you haven't done it right. Of course the therapist was good. Of course the therapy was fine. It's you. You haven't done the exercises properly. You haven't been constant. You failed. You failed again. And this was, again, right, a big issue, another issue we had, but this, how do you accept failure? What do you say to yourself when you break down, when you fall? And is that really a failure, or is just another bump that will eventually make you much stronger? And because I suppose when people listen not to these stories, they expect it's a success story. So we kind of imagine, oh, you know, she had 38 years of anxiety, she started working, and then look, wow, now she's all this, you know, wonderful, perfect person. And I think we read some of those success stories and we believe that they are that easy and that smooth. And I'm sure none of them are, because it's this, how you accept failure, how you accept your negative feelings, how you accept your true self when you are down, makes all the difference. And that's where your failure can turn into a lesson, but it's all about how you talk to yourself, how you label it. Is it a failure? Is it a lesson? Right? So it's not like now my success story is like this, taken off, and there's no dark day in my life. Of course there is. There are lots of negative feelings. But the way I look at them, and the way I kind of label them, and the way I talk to myself when I have this day, now there is the shift. This is the real success story.
Yeah, there's so much beauty in what you said. Like, one, it is what you said, that, you know, the learning and the failure, and it's the shifting perspective, because what you said there is, you know, like, especially, let's say, you know, someone wants to get into my program, like, no, you know, there's no promise of a quick win, there's no progress of like, yo, okay, you'll have this, like, make millions and make thousands of euros, and you're having this dream rock star lifestyle, whatever it is for someone. Like, no, like, we all, and we had this conversation before we gone live here, is that we all go through the motions. Like, life constantly will go like this. So I love what you said, that the real success is that you've been shifted, or your own perspective towards yourself, because now you can receive yourself with kindness, no longer judging yourself, no longer wanting perfection, like allowing yourself to be. And isn't that the true freedom? Like, that you can set yourself free, like, you know what? Okay, I'm not perfect. I also no longer strive for perfection. Like I'm accepting myself totally. I realize that I'm on a learning journey. I'm more and more every day. I'm getting to know myself better and better, which is a lifelong task. But I've set myself free because I don't have all these weights wearing or yeah, weighing me down.
Yeah, it's like it's not someone I have to become or I have to be.
Yeah.
Right? It's this queen energy is not becoming that, you know, superwoman who will handle everything and you know will never kind of fall back. And no, this queen energy is about, for me at least, right? This queen energy is when you say, you know, I'm having a shitty day. I'll give myself a break. I will not do the washing up today. You know what? I'll sit and watch Netflix all day.
Yeah.
This is the queen energy, that I'm ready to give myself a break. I accept I'm not having a good day. Sometimes I still have anxiety. I accept now I have some anxiety. So, you know, well, it's okay. What is important is not to fall into the pattern and not to tell stories to yourself that, oh, look, you're back. Oh, that happened before. Remember when it happened and then you couldn't get out of it for... No, just give yourself a break, pause, like, you know, just let it be, not label it, let it be, don't say anything to yourself, just let all the feelings be, cry a little, laugh a little, and just, you know, just like give yourself a break, and then tomorrow you might want to do the washing up.
Yeah. I love this so much. Thank you for sharing this, Irma, because this is such an important message as well, because the majority of all the women I've worked with so far go through the emotions of like, oh my God, I've not evolved. I fell back. It's been all for nothing. You're like, no, this is life, you know, where it's like, yeah, it is. We all go. And I shared, you know, before as well, like I've been going through a massive shift in December, like crying my eyeballs out for a couple of days. But it is like life. Like, look, I'm not trying to show that I'm perfect, but me, myself, I go through the motions because I keep stepping out of my own comfort zone. But like you said, the difference is that now I'm allowing myself to be. I observe myself. I feel sad. I feel low. I feel lost. I give myself a sort of a digital hug. You know, I give myself a bit of a, I give myself, and I'm allowing myself to be like, okay, you want to avoid for 2 days watching Netflix, like fine. But the whole pressure, and then I do the deep work and I go in and I see my shadows and I slay my dragons and all these things. But you know, you learn the tools to shift yourself back. You learn the tools, like you said, to remove the weight. And when you see like, hey, you know, I have a limiting belief, I'm focusing on a negative, I'm focusing on I can't rather than I can, you shift yourself back to trust. And that's how you get yourself constantly in alignment, where you're like, you know what? I'm just stepping one foot before the other, and I'm trusting that the road will be there.
Yeah, well, because when we started working, right, those little exercises that you have to do every morning, writing down certain things, right? At first, kind of, you start writing down, and it's like, oh, it's ridiculous, you know, nothing's. Oh, look, everything went down. Oh, what changed? Look, nothing. Oh, the next day, oh, everything went down. Like, oh, what? Because you know all those high expectations that you'll write something down, and then suddenly you know it will shift, and on the next day you wrote how you want to feel, and you'll feel exactly how you wrote. No. It's not how it works, right? But this is another important thing, that all those exercises that seem to be, you know, we are very critical of them because it's just writing something down, it's just manifesting your thoughts, it's just imagining things. It's good to be critical of everything, but as you always said, like, give it a chance, like, start doubting. What if, just little glimpse, what if everything you've believed so far about your illness, your life, your capacity, your skills, what if it's not completely true? Just like give it a try, just doubting a little. What if everything you've heard so far is someone's opinion? And then with those little exercises, those daily routines that you do have to do the work, right? It's not like something, you know, oh, Alex talks to me, you know, she gives me those master classes, and then suddenly I'm just doing nothing, and I'm like, oh, after 4 months, I need this new personality. You do have to do the work, however tedious it seems to be at first, and however critical you are of it at first. And, you know, you might have tried it in other therapies, maybe it didn't work very well, but give it this a little bit of trust. Just start doubting it, at least. Not if, yeah, because I didn't trust it for a very long time, right? I even when we've been working for months, and when I had another breakdown, I said, it's not working. It's not like, I don't feel like it's, I feel there are some, because it's easy not to see your progress. It's very easy to kind of fall apart again. It's very easy. And then remember, you were asking me to do those exercises, but what are the good things? But what have you learned? What have you shifted? And there always are. But you have to do the work. You have to do the exercises. You have to do the.
But you touched on a very important point there, Irma. Like, it's always easier to stay where you are. Like, it's always easier to look at. It's always easier, because going inwards, because, we started working with anxiety, but there has been a lot of layers we uncovered that at that moment you weren't even, because I talk about the conscious and the subconscious a lot, and I know a lot of people are like, yeah, whatever, 96% being subconscious behavior, yeah, sure, well, you're gonna tell me that I don't know myself? Well, that's just, it sounds like BS. But I don't know if you want to share with us, because we started with anxiety, but there's a lot of layers behind or below it that were the actual, like, core problems, like what it was actually that we were dealing through over the last couple of weeks.
Yes, because of course, when you dance around anxiety, so you just going kind of to the points, to your past, upbringing, what caused you, how it formed, what childhood traumas you've been through, and kind of you just going deep in that forest. What we've been doing is we've been going exactly from the opposite direction. We've been going to kind of okay, I feel like, I remember we talked once and I said, I just realized that if I go to the beach on my own and there are no people, I don't have a telephone, I can't take photos, I can't talk to anybody, I'm just alone on the beach. I'm super uncomfortable and I'm scared. And then we said, but why? What is scary? Why is it? And kind of we talked and it came out that I cannot define my personality when I'm on my own, because we said, no, when I'm with the phone, I can pretend I'm this Instagrammer. When I'm with the family, I'm just this daughter, sister. When I'm with my husband, I'm the wife. When I'm with my students, I'm the teacher. But when we took away all the labels and we left me alone on that beach, which is my favorite place on the earth, but I couldn't be there because I didn't know who I am, which could be not lots of people don't know who they are. It's not such a big thing, but in the sense that I didn't, in that being left totally alone with myself, I didn't know what I wanted to do, what I wanted in my life, what I expected from me, because always I've been doing things that, or it's good for my anxiety, it's good for other people, it's comfortable, everyone's happy, it makes people happy, it makes my family happy, it makes my husband happy, my students happy, my friends happy. I've always, for example, kind of wanted very much to be this cool person who is very much liked, because there was a clear lack of self-appreciation, so that has been very important for me, for people to tap on my shoulders and on my shoulder. And if you asked the friends who surrounded me throughout many years, they would tell that I am a very fun, positive, outgoing personality, very cool, very easygoing, because of course, unconsciously, I've been everything people wanted me to be. Everything. So I've been a bit different kind of personality with different groups of people, and it happened unconsciously, because I just thought that if I am what people want me to be, then I'll be liked. And I think so many people do this unconsciously, and we think that we are this personality, we think that we are this person, but when you are left alone, apart from all your labels, when no one is there, when you are alone at night on the beach or whatever, without any other people, just sitting there and thinking, but I didn't know how I want to be in that moment, because it was so much easier for me just to be the person other people expected me to be. And it was so scary to be left alone and to ask myself what I wanted for breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this, because this has been the core of it all, you know, where everything, like you said, is that, and we do that all because did that for a large part of my life, you know, wearing these masks, catering to all the people around me, and we don't even realize that we're doing, but we're distracting ourselves from our core. Like, and we are, like you said, you know, like I am only happy when other people are happy. So you keep catering to others, and then without, in time, you sort of lost that connection to yourself. Like, okay, but who am I? And what you shared just there as well, that identity, like, okay, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, and all these labels, all these roles. But okay, who are you for yourself? And who am I then? Like, what's left? If I'm not all that, who is left? And that is, yeah, that was huge for you. That was confronting, very dark as well, of course, to realize then, like, wow. But then, you know, what comes after is, and you know, I had it myself, and if I look at myself, like, you know, I had it where, and we spoke about that, it almost felt that Alice in Wonderland, where you fall through the rabbit hole because you're lost, like, okay, fuck, what happens, and who am I, like, you know. But how I at least gone through that is, in the end, you know, after sort of grieving and feeling lost, like, whoa, is that it also leaves a sort of a blank canvas where you can then restart, like, okay, rebuild, like, now I can make a conscious, because it has to do with boundaries, it has to do with saying no. So a lot of our work together as well has been like, okay, connecting you back to yourself, like, okay, but Irma, what do you want, what brings you joy, like you said, and feeling that deep inner connection where, when you feel aligned, you can make choices. Yes, no, you know, you decide where you want to go. And then you go back to the creator seat again, where you create a very conscious, you know, meaningful, purposeful life that feels fulfilling.
Yes, I've made lots of friends unhappy lately, which means I am doing a good
Wow.
job, because
Yeah.
let me explain that. It seems strange because, of course, I had lots of responses from people, from close friends saying, "Oh, but you know what happened? That you everything used to be so cool. Oh, but you used to be so much fun. Oh, but you know now like this ritual kind of a shift change. You're not so like." Put it very simply, cool anymore. And this is when I realized that I'm actually doing the right thing, because of course I'm not so cool anymore, because I'm doing things that are good for me. That at some point I will not do things, you know, if I don't want to go to some place, I will say no, no matter how cool it would be to go there, and no matter how easy it would be for me to say, yeah, sure, as always, I'll just tag along. So it'll make lots of people around you feel uncomfortable, and you might eventually grow apart from some people. So this is that sacrifice that needs to be made. But of course, I mean, this is where you say, you have to get lost before you find yourself, and you have to empty that canvas, so you start painting it. There's no way you can kind of build this new, you know, personality on this noise and on this already painted, unclear canvas that you already have. You'll have to clear it, and that clearing it, oh, it's messy. It's nothing like, you know, it's a bed of roses. No, clearing is
no roses and butterflies.
You acknowledge yourself, how little you know yourself, how undervalued and unappreciated you feel, how much you lack self-confidence, how much you need people to pat on your shoulder, and you'll kind of like think about it. You'll think where it's coming from. It'll probably go to your childhood upbringing, and you don't need to come from a difficult family, or there might be very little things that have affected you in the childhood and that somehow transformed into these new patterns that today you think they're normal, but they are not. And I think that eventually, when we talk about anxiety, when I look at it from here now, this is actually what causes you most anxiety, when you disconnect completely, when you go with the flow. But there's very wrong when people say go with the flow, going with the flow of others. Because, you know, the people say, oh, it's easy, let's go here, let's study this, let's go on that trip, let's do that because it's so cool. But you never ask yourself if you really want this. You think you do because it's the only thing you want, and people like you that way. It's not easy not to be liked. It's not easy to say no to people and to say, you know what, you will probably hate me, but I mean, no. And if people grow apart, obviously it's natural, and you just have to accept it that in your new life, in your new perception, in your new personality, there is just no space for some places, some people, and some things. And you have to believe, because you have to connect with yourself. That is the only thing that matters. Why have you been connecting with everybody around you but yourself? You lost yourself, and you kind of just going there in the swirl of identities and kind of feeling anxious and panicky, and this is the key. This is where you have to calm down, acknowledge, let it all go, sweep it all, and then start building little by little, not putting pressure on yourself, not thinking that now you're manifesting your dream job and tomorrow I'll find a dream job. Probably I'll have to go through lots of steps and jobs I don't like before I get to that point, and I'm just at the beginning of the process.
I don't believe that for you, Irma, but we'll see. But I love what you said there, that's a very important point to realize, like that's so difficult, like you said, to release people, to let go of people, that people will move out of your life because you changed, but you feel better in your own skin, right?
This is the only thing that matters. If you want to be that queen, if you want to be that powerful person, we're not talking about the money power, about this power I have over people, or someone listening to me, I'm controlling the situation. This is exactly the opposite. You are not controlling anything, but you are free. You're not controlling your emotions, you're not controlling your thoughts, you're not this master, who just controls everything around. No, but you are free, because you're accepting everything that comes up. You listen to yourself, you kind of you acknowledge yourself, and you decide what is best for yourself at that moment, and you are free to tell any other people what you want or what you don't want. And if they don't understand, you at first it's difficult, at first you feel very guilty, but it comes with the practice. That
you're now very good at saying no.
Maybe it's a bit too much now, right? Like, nope, not this, not too good, not good enough, not taking this.
With Irma, I love everything you shared, but we're already almost like an hour in, so I just want to finish with, we were talking about marketing just before we started, and we don't have a lot of time to go into that, but it's still funny where you said, like, there's so many coaches, so many people selling something that is just, from the outside it looks so well. It's interesting because I've been really, I wouldn't say struggling, but I find it sometimes difficult to market, especially the program that's there. And I was talking a couple of months back to someone. I said, well, you're so much focusing on, which I understand, and she said, almost picturing you're selling, like, or actually the transformation that you're offering, like it's a beautiful island, but you're spending all your time focusing on the boat that will get people there. No one cares about the boat, talk about the island, So this is actually like a good question to you. Like, if you could what is the transformation that you feel most? Like, if you would read on my website, or I would tell, like, okay, and obviously different journey, different people, different results, but what has been the biggest transformation, a shift for you? It can be a list, like it doesn't have to be one thing, but what's that island for you? Where did you go to?
I think why we functioned, and why this actually worked, it's because we both have been very real in each moment, and acknowledging our failures. You have never been standing from the position of this, saint, spiritual super guide, just, this perfect, and just, kind of telling me some tips how to get there to your island. You have very clearly sailed the boat together with me. I always had the wheel. You were just kind of there, cheerleading a little, just like, push a little harder, not a little bit, doing all the work so subtly that when you reach that transformation, you think kind of you did it on your own, but you perfectly know that you haven't, because there has been someone very natural, very much that you've connected with, who has been literally pushing your boat from behind. You steer the wheel, you have the wheel, you get to the island, because the island, for each person, the island is different, right? One will want to be the super mom, super girlfriend, super wife.
But what has been the transformation for you, Irma? Because I think, there's a lot of similarities towards a lot of people resonate with certain parts. So how does it, like, what's the feeling? Not because it's not about things, like you said, who cares about, like, at the end, it's just the feeling where you now, I could sense a freedom, like, more light. Like, how would you explain, how does your island look like?
Exactly. My island is, what I had this perception of what I really did not what I want, but now I know what was that I had, what was that island in my mind, on my mind. It was the island of freedom, of doing things I want, regardless of my anxiety, of first thinking, does that bring me joy? Does that make me burn? And then at the end of my mind, slipping those ideas of, oh, maybe I'll get a bit anxious while doing it. Oh, let's see what happens, right? But going to that point where I ask myself what I want for breakfast, and I know exactly. Where I ask myself what type of work I want to do, and it might be not a specific profession, but I know things I want and I don't. When I ask myself about the free time I want to have with my friends, I know. And I know I'm not answering the question triggered by my anxiety. This was my island, this was my journey, and I'm still there, but this has been the biggest transformation of just letting it all happen regardless of my anxiety, putting it aside and remembering, because I think at some point I knew, remembering who I really am and what I have always wanted. When how does my stage look like? Not behind, right?
Yeah, because you're on the freaking stage, and that is that is huge, Irma. Like, that is amazing. And what I say is just profound freedom in no longer thinking what would other people think of this, and hiding or dimming your light, but now really like, okay, it's about me. What do I want? And also I remember, where you couldn't, even if you had a day off, you were always stressed, because you had something to do. But now allowing yourself to be in the moment, to enjoy it, to be there, to be present. Like, so it is that word freedom, like profound freedom. And yes, sure, we still go through the motions. You still go through the motions. We're all still living, breathing through life, facing all these challenges, but from a whole different level, with a whole different energy.
Yeah, that's what you've been saying, that what we were talking before is like all those exercises you do, all those things you learn, all those tools you learn, they are for your life. They are not from one dark moment of your life that, you fixed me and now I'll be fine. No, you teach me how to deal with life, emotions, ups and downs. And because this is life, and it's not a success story that I'm just taking off on Instagram pictures or on, the beautiful island in the sunset, looking fabulous all day long.
I see all these photos all the time, Irma.
I am on the beach and I am on a fabulous island. But
what are you talking about? You are living a freaking dream life, man. Come on.
Accepting my ups and downs, exactly. Yeah, accepting my negative side as well.
But I love what you say there, because that's self-acceptance. And isn't that true, wealth, self-acceptance, self-love, to now valuing yourself, putting yourself first there, and all the rest will follow. That's where it all starts. That's the energy, right? That's the shift.
That's the freedom. Right? This is where you feel free.
Yeah.
Kind of, because, well, you always think, no, what if, but when you start kind of reframing it, and instead of saying, what if this will happen, talking about negative things, saying, what if this will happen, talking about the positive things, right? So then kind of all this anxiety turns into, we just like kind of with a bit of excitement, what the future will bring, or not, I'll deal with it, it's okay, I have my tools.
Yeah, can I make it amazing? Exactly. So because I think that's sometimes hard for people to understand, and we were talking about a bit before we started, like, what is coaching actually, because the program that I made is both teaching just, theory about the law of attraction, and we talked about really integrating the divine feminine archetypes, so there's a lot of theory and knowledge there that you get to integrate, like, and collect a bit of a toolbox. So I'm both teacher, you said it, cheerleader, but then also from a coaching perspective, because like you said, and you had such a good point, but a lot of people have this sort of resentment or this, you know, what coaching actually is. So can you just explain how you perceived coaching? Like, what is coaching? What has it been for you? How did you, yeah, how was it?
Yeah, coaching is very different from therapy because first, right, there's difference that in therapy, you focus on the negative sides and you try to fix them. Right? You try to learn exercises, how to fix them, and you try to find the reasons, the origin of your problems. So you focus on the problem and how to solve it. Coaching is quite the opposite. Coaching is defining the results you want to have in your future, professional, personal, whatever. Defining the results, and then with the help of your coach, finding a way to get to them. So the coach is the person who will never ever tell you what to do, right? It's like, I would have loved to ask you, but what do I do? I have like, do I take this offer or no? What do you think? What shall I do? Exactly. It's like never telling you what you have to do. Is asking you constantly, reminding you to ask yourself, but what do you want? And it's coaching is constant questions for you that make you think and kind of make you suffer, make you go through that path to get to the result where you want to be. Yeah. This is coaching.
Yeah, I love that because it is a sacred space. Like we had this, you where you feel held. And where I asked, because I remember a couple of weeks back, where you're like, I still hear you in my ear. Because it is the type of questions like, and this is again a toolbox for life, where you just, the type of question that I ask, it is the kind of things that you would, like, you know, normally we would, as humans, wouldn't necessarily get ourselves there. Like imagine having an hour-long conversation with yourself that way. But because questions, and then there's power in hearing yourself say things out loud, being reflected back like a mirror, and then from that we're peeling the layers that we could get into the subconscious, where you often yourself won't even realize, you don't even realize, like, okay, but why do I do certain things? Why do I think? Like so many things for ourselves are so normal in terms of habit, our thinking patterns, you know, our beliefs. We don't even think twice about it. But then when someone is reflecting back, like, hey, do you notice you're doing it again? Like, you know, here you are judging yourself, and like, okay, but what do you want? What brings you joy? And there's so many layers going into, you know, bringing a certain topic or trigger or frustration or whatever it was to the table and uncover it. You're literally with that reprogramming your subconscious mind. So you have this, yeah, cheerleader. I say a guide, like I'm guiding you back. I've been guiding you back to yourself, you know, and that is more how I see it, is that I'm just a facilitator. I literally, like you said, I love how I push the boat, but I grab you by the hand and take you through that journey, because it is an inner journey. And, you know, where you it's literally like you said, I loved how you said it. Like, you know, I would never say, do this, do that, but, you know, I would throw up a couple of options maybe, and then you get to choose, you know, what's it. And it is like, life is a life journey of adventuring. If we fall and we learn, and then we know what we like, and we now know. And especially, you know, we have the last couple of bits intuition as well. You know, how do I know what's my intuition and what's my anxiety? Well, you learn by doing. You know, you get to observe yourself. What worked? How did it feel? Feeling, you know, that's also been something that's been really, really important. Like how being present and sit with whatever emotion comes up and then feel and live through it and releasing, you know, whatever energy was stagnating there. So thank you so much for that beautiful explanation. Just to finish this off, because we could go on this for another hour. There's been so much here, but I love, because we were just informally chatting about my 5-day challenge, and you are part of the beta testing group, you know, super women galore. And I love, and just as I want to roll this out later, you know, in this 5-day challenge, and I loved how you were describing, because I asked you, and it was interesting as well, because you know, I'm super open sharing this, like it's very normal. Like 2 days ago, I was freaking out, like, oh my God, you know, will this 5-day challenge work? And I said to you as well, like, and that's why I want to be open with this as well. Like, even me teaching a lot of things, like, we're all human. Like, you know, when we pour our heart and souls into something, like, the bigger the, you know, I always say the bigger the desire, the bigger the vulnerable something is. And a heart's desire always is, the bigger the fear, the bigger the anxiety. So it comes down to accepting that process. And now, like, we have the conversation, no longer judging yourself for it. Like, I'm not judging myself. I'm now accepting, like, okay, this is part of that. But I actually, like, okay, how is you're at day 3, you're doing day 4 today. And I love how you rephrased and summarized this. So can you just briefly, like, you know, for whoever's watching this, and for me to promote the 5-day challenge, like, what is it doing for you?
Yeah, first for me, of course, after we've been working for such a long time, for me it's a perfect resume of everything we've touched. Yeah, just the top, the tip, right? Just a resume of everything I have to keep in mind. And as we've said, it's definitely not a 5-day challenge. It's a lifetime challenge. These are the tools that these are the questions, the tools that you have to ask yourself, that you have to remind yourself of for the rest of your life. Because I did something similar some months ago, and of course we're doing it now after this half a year, and it's already, there are so many shifts. So I imagine that next year or half a year later, I'll do it again, and it'll be a much clearer story. So this is how you see your progress, and these are the tools that you need to apply. These are the questions you need to ask yourself constantly during your life. It's not 5 days, oh, you know, you've done it, now it's all clear, you know what you want, you know what you have. But it's definitely a good start, and it's definitely just to get the idea when to start diving into something very, very deep. It's a great way to start, but it's a long way to go, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, but I love what you said just there. And that's why, you know, where you said, wow, it's so valuable, because you said, one, I have a recap of our whole time together that I can just look back to and do this whatever, because it gives me the tools to shift. And it gives me the tools, like, you know, and that anchor of trusting, because that's often, like, always say, there's 2 sides. Like, either you go for trust or fear, you know, and faith, from faith to fear is what the journey, like the challenge is called. But it is, like, it is constantly, we always have, like, do I focus on the faith? Do I focus on the fear? You know, it's that shifting, being conscious, like, okay, am I worrying? Am I doubting? Okay, can I shift myself back? So I actually really loved how you reframed that by saying, like, okay, this is not a 5-day challenge, it's a lifetime challenge. But because of that, it's so valuable, because you get the tools out of it that you can use not only for 5 days, but can put in your little backpack and use throughout your life.
Exactly, being very real to yourself, accepting everything that comes through, and yes, this is this key point between the fear and trust. Of course, I would know about the fears, right? Living in fear like my whole life, basically, and this is a bit of a turning point, and everybody will have to realize and to fight their own fears.
Yeah, I love that. I love you so much, Irma. Thank you so much.
You
Is there anything you'd like to share? Is there anything I missed? Is there anything you want to...
We could obviously go on talking probably for the 4 more days, as we always do, and today I have to say that we haven't been tearing up, which has been a great progress, because I think we've been already managing it, and we've been talking about it so much that I feel much calmer now to talk about all my past and all my experiences, because I'm in this calm position. Literally 2 months ago, I would tear up every time I have to tell about something about anxiety, my past, living in prison. It would come up immediately, because I would still be in such a lost place. But I think that the moment that now we can talk about it so calmly and just so easily, it also tells great things, that, you know, reaching that position where I can explain it and not being shaken to my core and not living it again, just looking at it, accepting it, right, as a part of my past, and acknowledging that, you know, there are some things there, but I'm calm, I am free.
Wow, that is such a beautiful... Oh, you get me...
It had to be a peaceful moment. It had to be.
So well.
It had to be
Yeah,
because,
but
of course, it was so strange.
that is so, because yeah, Irma, because that feeling, like you say, profound freedom, like you feeling inner peace, you know, you too as well.
Yes,
You
yes, yes,
feeling
your whole, of
calm.
course. It's always the
That is
same.
the biggest gift. Thank you. Thank you so much for this. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone
I
who's
love you
watching
very,
and
very
who've
much.
been. Thank you.
You.